Hello everybody and welcome to another Bobby News weather update. I made this video a couple weeks ago when we had an intense storm and I'm just getting the edits done. But what I wanted to show is you can even see with the clouds how intense the cold air was blowing across the Northeast. So I had to capture some shots here. And on a broader spectrum, I wanted to show how this is kind of forming waves across the planet. And you can see the warm air over here pushing upward against the cold air coming down across the Northeast, forming this perfect pocket of cold air. And then here's the warm air over here. So there's like an up-down forming, and it goes across the planet. Look at the half circle over there, half circle here. It's like waves on the beach coming across the planet, and they just float across. There's another one, an up-down, and it makes like a sine wave across the planet. Not perfect, but you get what I'm saying. And you can see how intense these downward pushes are. And then there's a big up over here to counter it. So it creates more drastic weather, higher winds, more precipitation, bigger storms, the blizzards, things like that from these down pushes. And I think it's because of this storm over here. You can see it spinning over Europe, forcing a lot of air to the north, which is really just the North Pole right there to the right. It's this warm air down here, pushing across the Atlantic cycle. And I think the current being down more over the United States eventually ends up in a harder push over here across the Atlantic cycle, going right over the North Pole. And anywhere that's not from this direction is getting pushed downward very violently from this storm over the North Pole. So I think that's what's creating these down pushes everywhere else. Like over here in Russia, you can kind of see this downward push. You can see it further down into China, the push. And then obviously the push between China and Japan. And then the push over here in the Pacific. And you can see the clouds again indicate high speed. So it's fast moving. A lot of pressure behind that. And again, we're right when the planet's starting to shift. So I wonder if that has something to do with these downward pushes. Pretty cool stuff. Look at how perfect that half circle is. Clearly can see where the air masses are colliding. And again, like a wave on the beach. It's kind of beautiful when you look at it. But the up-down goes across the planet. Pretty hard one coming out here in the left here. And the downward motions. Bored yet? Okay, we'll move on. So there was also this little hurricane or tropical storm that formed in South America, which is a 1 in 3 years, coincidentally kind of an El Nino cycle. I'm wondering if El Nino has to do with that. And this storm was about the same time that was going on. And I felt like this one was so strong. This is the one that eventually went on up to Europe, and it's causing the down pressures now. But this may have been a part of why that storm formed over the Atlantic. Just some weird suction happening in the north may cause a problem in the south. And let's look at Soto for a second and see how it looks from year to year as far as our Atlantic temperatures. And you can see we go from a downward shelf and some more heat in 2023 along the coast to a colder eastern front and nearly a flat line across the Atlantic Ocean. And even some warmth in the Mediterranean you can see pop up over there by the Red Sea. So very interesting year to year to see that shift. And I'm sure that has to do with El Nino, whatever's causing El Nino. And you get these shifts. So let's look back into history here. There's our flat line, warmer up in there, and then colder. So let's keep going. See if we can see the same behavior somewhere. Kind of the same. We're looking for green up there too. See, there's flat. There's flat. Look how contrasted. No green in the Mediterranean, blue everywhere. And then 1 year more, or 2 years really. No, 2009 did it too, to 2010. So this looks a lot like what we're getting now, '09 to 10. A lot of cold one year, and then just flattens out the next year. It's insane.